Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Yesterday night, GGG posted their first out of many little balanced manifestos today, or at least this time, targeting the jewels and ailment mitigation. And I want to read through it and give you my 2 cents about it, what I think is good, what I think is bad, and so on. So I would say, without further ado, let's start right into the action. Our upcoming 320 expansion, we're making a number of balance changes that will present over several balance manifestos that each cover an individual topic. In today's manifesto, we're discussing chases or jewels, most notably increasing their potential for ailment mitigation. That sounds pretty good in my opinion. I'm gonna say why in a second. The problem: jewels have modifiers that provide various forms of ailment avoidance or protection. However, because their current values are moderately low, you often need to stack several jewels in order to have adequate levels of protection. We feel that this is an excessive amount of investment for how necessary ailment mitigation is to a character's build. The issue has been exacerbated by some of these mods being granted gated behind corruption, making them more expensive and difficult to acquire. The solution: we're expanding the pool of mods available in magic and rare jewels, and making the modifiers values more generous, so that players have better access to source of ailment mitigation with less investment. Regular jewels, for example, the jewels that are not abyss or cluster jewels, now have mods that provide reduced duration or reduced effect for a wider variety of ailments than before. Abyss jewels now have mods that provide avoidance of various ailments. So here is a bit of a question mark for me. I mean, I do have like, what is it, like 12 or even 13,000 hours in the game. When they talk about jewels mitigation, I'm not sure if actual rare jewels have modifiers to counter that. I know there is like ignite duration, chance to freeze, chance to ignite, like, you know, poison duration, all of these kind of like offensive modifiers. But as far as I know, things like a chance to avoid being ignited, or like those kind of things, they were like synthesized or implicits basically that we used to slap on with harvest. I remember like stacking 10 jewels or something with like, what is it, 10% chance to avoid being stunned, so you get like your stun immunity thanks to 10 freaking jewels. And I know how freaking annoying that was. I would actually like to see Craft of Exile. If we just pull up any normal jewel here, let's say, I don't know, Viridian Jewel, for example. So as far as I know, let's say Ignite. So we have the chance to ignite and implicit chance to avoid being ignited. But this is what I mean. Like, the normal jewels, they don't have modifiers like life or fire.multi or anything like that that helps you preventing ailments. This is a bit weird when they said about they have, but they're like, the values are not high. This only exists on implicit, and I love to see that they're working towards better ways of making that. Because if I'm honest, if I open my PUB, like, ailment avoidance for me personally is, for my builds, the way I enjoyed the game, on the same stage as getting res capped. You know, res capped, immune to elemental ailments. You know, because getting shocked, you know, taking like, I don't know, 50% increased damage, or a nasty ignite that you just die away. You know, it's same with like bleed immunity and poison duration, or, you know, those kind of things. You can like adjust the problems with like pantheons, but overall, I like to have like permanent immune characters to certain things, right? For example, if we go for let's say chance to avoid or avoid elemental ailments. So, good. How many nodes on the tree do we have? Some, but most of them are gated towards like things. You know, for example, this one over here, this is for shield and spellcasters. So if you play a slayer that is like, or let's say you play an occultist with having a bow or a staff or something, this doesn't do anything, and you want to get like 100% ailment avoidance, right? Here is a mastery that is also targeted towards having a shield. So if you don't have a shield, none of the top side of the tree does have any form of avoiding elemental ailments. You have a little bit here on the crystal skin, and here is a life cluster, but overall it is very hard to do because there are not many items that assist that. Yes, we do have boots nowadays with Searing Exarch or Eater of Worlds implicits, and you can like essence craft that, right? So you can get like I would say a 50% chance to avoid elemental ailments on your boots, maybe even 60%. But the second part, it used to be on the gloves, which is accessible for every character, but now it is on the shield. So it's boots and shield to get ailment avoidance. So if you play with a two-handed weapon, with a bow, with a sword, whatever it is, right, or double wands, for example, right, you're almost impossible to get ailment avoidance unless you take like Purity of Elements. And as you see on almost every build that I play, it has Purity of Elements in, but not only because of like the additional resistance that I get, because it's not that hard to get resistance capped, but just for the sake of getting ailment avoidance. And I hope that this change will be a blessing, so I can get access with other characters too with the ailment avoidance, you know? So let's move on. Summary, this means the jewels should be more reliable and less expensive source of ailment mitigation through their higher mod values and better variety of mods. Yeah, hopefully. Let's see about that. Problem, many unique jewels are not exciting to find. There are a few reasons for this. In most cases, they're simply underpowered or applying to a too narrow window of usage, or both. There are also many corruption-only jewels that don't fulfill a good purpose. Yep, that's true. There's countless, dude. It's like crazy. You have like quite a bunch of like unique jewels, like Inspired Learning, a Watcher's Eye, Forbidden Flame Flash, and these are like used in almost every build. But these are like probably 10 out of maybe 100 unique jewels or whatever there is, you know. Most of them are just trash, like normal unique items are, right? Previously, we were hesitant to revisit unique jewels and improve them beyond their initial design because many of their themes are somewhat rigid in nature, meaning there is little room to improve them without completely remaking them. As an example of this is Fireborn Crimson Jewel, whatever that jewel is. It has no values to that we could increase to make it more useful. It simply changes the damage type within the radius, which is very limited opportunities for use. Any improvements we could make to this jewels would have to fundamentally change its identity and would therefore essentially remove the jewel in its current form of Path of Exile. Yeah, but I don't really see that as a problem. Like, honestly, like, just redesign it. These jewels are sometimes like 7, 8, 9 years old, and nobody uses them because we had like so much more power spike from certain league mechanics and other jewels, so they became completely relevant. Like, who's using, besides like solo self-on players and stuff, but in a proper endgame build for softcore trade league, who is using a normal rare item? Usually it's influenced, or it's Awakener orbed, or it's like, you know, just proper, just life resistance rare item is something for league start, and the rest is just not as good. Solution, we're making it so that every unique jewel that drops is very rare and highly desirable. What? This means that many existing unique jewels have been removed from the drop pool. The intention is that now you find a unique jewel, it should almost always be a very positive experience. To help make jewels drop special, we've designed a new set of unique jewels that are powerful chase items. These can drop from the core pool. You can learn more about these jewels in the upcoming announcement live streams in the community. With that said, there were some unique jewels that were still useful for a subset of player base. They had build-enabling modifiers or other very niche uses, like the Brute Force solution or attribute transforming jewels. Instead of getting rid of these, we've made them corruption-only unique jewels. We feel this has benefits for both players and who want them to players who don't. As generally, player don't want them won't come across them as core drops, and players who do want them can still actively pursue them. Some build-enabling unique jewels can now be found from more deterministic sources throughout Path of Exile. One example is Combat Focus, which can now be obtained through a vendor recipe. Some other build-enabling jewels that affect golems can no longer drop, okay, but can be found from another more deterministic source. While we want to discover this new source of on your own during gameplay, we will say for clarity that these jewels do not come from vendor recipe. The goal, like summary, our goal is to finding a unique jewel is an exciting experience. The unique jewels that drop naturally should be those that are very valuable with broad appeal to the average player, either to use in your own build or trade somewhere else. We've worked towards this goal by removing uninteresting unique jewels, adding more chase unique jewels, and moving jewels that do appeal to a smaller subset of players to other places so that they can pursue it by choice. I mean, it's kind of like what, I don't know what kind of jewels they want to put in there, you know, like an empowered inspired learning or something, because inspired learning would be one of the chase unique jewels that I would say an unnatural instinct, you know. But just because you make a shit item drop less common and make it super rare doesn't mean it's now a better item. It's still a shit item. So if people didn't want to have it before, now it could be like as rare as a Mirror of Kalandra, people will still not use it. You know? So I'm interested in on what kind of things. But if they are targetly like specifically saying we want chase unique jewels, and the first thing that comes into my mind in the core drop pool, not like Watcher's Eye and stuff like that, but would be an Unnatural Instinct and Inspired Learning. All the rest is like, you know, I'm more wondering what happens to those kind of jewels that are changing a skill, because a unique jewel is not like a unique jewel. There is like many different ones, but the ones, for example, for EK, where I say like, okay, if I put this in like 4D intelligence radius, then I get like my EK as a Nova, right? I think those can be buffed throughout everything. You know, they usually come with like, I don't know, 15% increased physical damage. You gotta make it 50% increased physical damage. You just buff those jewels to have like, you know, a more damaging approach than just like, hey, I want to have my skill do a Nova. Okay, I need to invest 5 points into that. I personally don't even like this. Oh, if you have 40 intelligence in radius, I think this disables. Like, you could take it and you want to take it, but it's not worth it. For example, the best case scenario, if I go to my 319 builds, and let's take the last one that I had here with the EK, okay? So that, I think, was my last EK build in the Trade League. And the only spot where I could fit the Ethereal Knives jewel for the Nova is down here. You know, because here's the only spot where I have like 40 dex or 40 intelligence. Oh, actually 40 dex in radius. I would love to put him in like a large cluster jewel or somewhere over here, or let's say I put it over here, right? But it just doesn't work. I need to have this 40 dex, so I'm limited to only go here or take down here. But this is like, and then I have to wonder like, okay, this is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it worth for me spending 5 points to make a Nova out of my EK? And the decision was, it's not worth. With 5 points, I can get a lot more power, and when it comes to damage, I could take here Heart of Flame and get like a big chunky ignites, you know. That's why I say like, I would like to use it, but it's just not worth it. So they should balance it in a way where these jewels are actually powerful, and you're like, okay, I really want to have. This is like a core of my build, instead of like, you know, take it if you can, but it's like whatever, you know. Good, next thing. Problem, many of the unique jewels that are currently granted through quest rewards are not very desirable. Additionally, because they're offered to all players who make their way through the campaign, they're extremely common, which inhibits them from having value or being meaningful items to find. We have also come to feel that this is thematically incorrect to offer unique items as quest rewards, as it undermines their feeling of uniqueness and prestige. I mean, if you have over like 1,000 or even more unique items in the game, where 9,925 of those unique jewels are something that your loot filter doesn't show, or you vendor it by not even identifying it because you know already it's trash. Even if it's 100% perfect roll, nobody would like to take that. Like, obviously you have this, oh my god, there is like a unique item dropped. It's crazy, dude. You know, that reminds me of the days of Diablo 3 in the vanilla version, where it was an average of like 1 legendary drop per hour, and then you hope that it's good and stuff like that. So finding a legendary was a cool thing. You know, there was still a lot of legendaries, but you know, if you were good at farming, if you were fast at farming, if you killed a shit ton of monsters per hour, you maybe had a chance to get 1 per hour, you know, not like in the current version of Diablo where you kill 1 rare peg and there's like 25 uniques and 5 set items, and then on the next stage of the map there's like another 50 unique legendaries, for example, right? And this is the current problem that PoE has as well, right? Thousands of uniques, 99% of them are trash, and this here, you know, I don't think that we ever gonna have a way where undermines their feeling of uniqueness and prestige. You know, there is only like maybe 10 unique items where I would count those in. For example, like a Headhunter, a Mage Blood, you know, those kind of things where I say like, yo boy, this is big money item, big good item. But the rest, whatever, you know. Unique jewels will no longer be offered as quest rewards. Okay, makes sense. Most of the jewels that are previously offered have been removed entirely. through some important ones have had their effects preserved in the form of new unique items or being added to the pool of rollable jewel modifiers. These quest rewards now offer random rare jewel because the rewards are not static like the unique jewels, where they have made a better chance of being useful to the receiver or something that may be valuable to trade to others. At the very least, they should be less predictable. Players should no longer be buried with predictable unique jewel quest rewards, but will not entirely miss out of some of valuable aspects they did have. So here is another thing that I want to mention here, right? And this is like, I think in the current version of Path of Exile, one of the core issues is, I don't care if I have a rare item or if it's a unique item. A unique item, as they explained here in like uniqueness and prestige, doesn't really exist. Yes, there is a lot of unique items that are build enabling, and those are the cool ones, but the ones that nobody cares about, like, take a look. You have League Start. Usually your character is full of like rare items with like life resistance, super core basics, right? Then you go into a mid-game build where you say like, hey, I could put in like a couple of unique items because this is like a nice interaction, will make my character stronger. But if you're honest, like the high-end, top-end builds, and we talk about here, I don't know, 500 divines or 1,000 or even more, right? They are usually full of double influenced items and like cluster jewels perfectly, and like a shit ton of jewels. For example, you know, your core build is usually like somewhere like this, okay? You maybe have not a cluster jewel stuff, but the better your character gets, the better the jewels are that you get, the more you're leaning towards building in more and more and more jewels. And in the best case scenario, let's assume you would have like 5,000 divines on your stash, and you want to make a sick character, right? You know how this is going to look like? Here is a 1 voices, here is a 1 voices, here is a 1 voices, and maybe you put in a hero 1 voices too. And then you just stack perfectly rolled 4-stat rare jewels, like, everywhere. Maybe a medium cluster if it's build enabling, but that's it. Like, I remember, probably takes too long to find this one now, my Righteous Fire character, in stacking, agnostic charge. Let me quickly give a glance here. Accuracy stacking. I once was playing a big juicy Righteous Fire. Rage Vortex, big guy with long stick. Oh, interesting. 314, Exsanguinate, Penance Brand. Oh, stacking brand. It seems like I cannot find it anymore. But either way, I did had a pretty big Righteous Fire guy. And to be honest, it was exactly as I just said. The more currency I got, the stronger I made my character, the more jewels and voices he had, because this was like the ultimate power, and this is like not something that you want to have in like unique items, you know? Unless it's build enabling, as shafts for example, or hey, I have a self-cursed temp chains headhunter build. Like obviously you want to have a headhunter, right? But as I said, 99.5% of all uniques are trash anyways, and I don't see any point of making them so freaking rare, because if the core item is trash, then making it rare doesn't make it any better, right? It's probably making it more expensive, but not more desirable. Conclusion, jewels should be more exciting than before and provide a better source of ailment mitigation than they were in 3.19. Jewels with effects that are useful only to a subset of players should still be attainable while moving them out of the way of players who aren't interested in them. You can find out more information in the patch notes of for 3.20 expansion and in our announcement live stream. As we mentioned, we have several other balance manifestos coming out. This will cover topics such as curses, archnemesis, and eldritch altars, among other things. Yeah, basically, if they're gonna make rare jewels even stronger than what I just explained with like this top tier end game builds, you know, they might be even more stronger based on the power of those jewels. If you know, have so much currency that you really can spend like 20, 30, 40 divines of actually crafting one, or just buying a perfect quad multi-jewel and whatnot, you know. It's gonna be interesting. I definitely like the way where, like, I don't really understand this kind of, like, unique thingy, and I probably, like, said this quite often now, right, that this just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But on the upper side, when it comes to ailment mitigation, is something I really enjoy reading, just because I know what a struggle it is for non-shield characters to actually get ailment avoidance and stuff like that, you know. And I hope they're gonna find good ways that we can actually use that. I mean, now with the introduction of the grand spectrums with ailment immunity per, or 30% or 12% per jewel and stuff, it does work, but it's still a lot of investment because a jewel can be such a powerful source. Yeah, in your tree, and you just have a blank jewel with 12% or 24% ailment avoidance. But hey, if it makes you capped, then it's still probably worth, but not the end game thing. Alright guys, pretty cool stuff here, and I'm looking forward on what the next Balanced Manifesto is about. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and next video.